What's up, everybody? My name's Indy, and that handsome feller sitting there next to me, that's Mr. Jay Powell from the Powell Group Consulting. And he's in the snow, and I'm in Florida. But welcome to Indie Game Business, and today our special guest is Ingrid Wolf, and she is in Ukraine, and she's a game developer, and she's working on the game Matrix Hunt. So we thought we'd talk to her a little bit about what is going on.
Ingrid, welcome to the show. I will confess that, 5 years ago, if someone had said, hey, you'd be running a podcast that's been going on for 4 years, I would have said no. And then if they said, if you were interviewing a game developer who was continuing to develop her game in the middle of a war, I would have said you're crazy. But you are here. So before we get into everything else, I want to start like where we always start. And tell us how you got into the industry originally, and then walk us through what you've done in your career up to this point.
Hi, Jay. Thank you for having me. This is a long story. First of all, as a child, I wanted to be a science fiction writer. It was the 19th, and science fiction and fantasy was extremely popular here in Ukraine. Everyone who wrote in this genre was guaranteed to be published, and the books were sold momentarily. And I wanted to become a science fiction writer, like one of those that my father so much liked to read. I even completed 3 novels, and I sent them to the publishing houses, but all of them got rejected, and that was when I began to think of another thing to do. I started to translate books into English from Ukrainian or from Russian. These books were later published on Amazon, and there was some moderate success, but I still lacked something more creative, something where I could express myself. And in 2019, I heard about a course where everyone could learn to make narrative games, even if they knew nothing about programming like I did. I knew nothing about it. I came to that course and completed it, and there we were making short narrative games on the Twine engine. I made several of them and uploaded them to each. They were free, but I could see people playing them, people thanking them of me, thanking me for them, and it was so nice coming from complete strangers. I didn't expect it to happen. I was grateful to them, and that was inspiring to keep traveling on this path and to make more games.
Well, to be fair, I don't think any of us actually expected to end up doing this, at any point in our lives. We've all just been either fortunate or unfortunate enough to still be able to make games and enjoy this. I know I get weird looks at school when I pick up my son and they're like, you do what for a living? And it's completely normal. So let me pull up my sheet. So tell me a little bit about, because you founded the company when you were 23. So you are your own CEO. I know how terrifying that is personally, because I accidentally ended up doing that as well. But tell us about, the company and Matrix Hunt, the game in general.
I'm afraid it's a bit of misunderstanding. My LinkedIn profile says I've been my own boss since 23, but it's not the age when I founded my own company. It's just when I started working as a self-entrepreneur, as a freelancer. I was looking for orders on the websites. I accepted the orders for writing texts in English of a translation, and that was how I made my living.
So I always like to see when games, cross a couple of boundaries, and you haven't necessarily crossed boundaries with what you're building on Matrix Hunt as much as you have like burst through them and built your own. Doing AR games is one thing that's actually fairly niche in the industry. Doing games with crypto is something else that's fairly new, fairly niche in the industry. But you're making a crypto game that's AR for mobile where you actually generate currency when you walk. Does that sum it up pretty well?
Yes, this idea was sudden even for me. I didn't ever think I would be working on a game like that. Actually, this idea belonged to my friend who is now my partner. He shared it in one small Facebook group and said that he was not certain if this idea was worth pursuing. And I assured him that it certainly was. I already liked it very much, and I convinced him to start working on it.
That's awesome. I mean I just love seeing new mixes and new genres like this. So I mean, kudos for one on that, because it's not something I would have thought up either. Everyone I talk to is like, I have a great idea for an AR game. It's like Pokemon. It's like, yes, all the AR games that everyone wants to make are like Pokemon. So on to the biggest thing going on right now. So outline your current situation. I mean, where are you? Are you safe? What's going on around you, since you're right there in the midst of it and the rest of us are watching it on the news?
I'm currently in Kryvyi Rih. That's my home city. It's in central Ukraine, not far from Dnipro, and we are safe here. No enemy has approached our city. They were standing in some 50 miles away, but our forces kept the defense line, and 2 days ago we began to counterattack and to drive them further away. So I can assure you that it is reasonably safe here where I stay. I mostly learn what is going on from the news about what's happening in the other regions of Ukraine where there is fighting. We already have some refugees coming here. We give them shelter and food and clothes and all they need.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's always hard to tell from the other side of the world. It's like, which areas are safe and which areas aren't, and then trying to, just figure out the news from one side or the other. And the fact that you're still safe and everything is carrying on, you know, that's fantastic. Now, obviously, I guess it goes without saying, it's stressful as hell. So how do you keep calm and keep making the games? What is your strategy there?
Hmm. That was rather sudden for myself when I just learned about the war starting. It was the morning of February 24, and it was my friend calling me early in the morning to tell me that Ukraine was attacked by Russia. I found it hard to believe that, but he would never have lied to me. And after the call, I browsed the news and got another confirmation that it was true. And I felt calm and concentrated. I realized I had to do my best to keep myself and my family safe. I went to my parents. I woke my father up and told him that the war had begun, and he said he had to consider it. He had to think about our plan, and I waited for him to come up with a decision, and he said that we are staying where we are in our home city because we are far from the border with Russia, and it's highly unlikely that they will ever come here. I believed him, and now I see he was true. It happened just this way, and I don't know what really helped me stay that calm and act efficiently. Maybe it was my experience of gaming, of putting myself in dangerous situations through the game character, through associating with them. I have a vivid imagination, and when my character on the screen was shooting at someone and dodging the blows, I felt like I was physically there, fighting as the character was. So probably maybe this experience somehow prepared me for what the real life had in stock, and that was why I lived this experience this way.
Okay, so a lot of us, kind of smile, especially in the industry, and say we're ready for anything because we play games. But this actually has helped you in a real world. I don't even know how to process that. I mean, I'm just it's one of those things that you don't think that it will be real. I mean, was there any warning or hints of something like this was going to happen, or did it literally take everyone by surprise?
I can't say it was an actual surprise because there were disturbing news coming from Russia as early as December last year. We were concerned that they might attack us, but it didn't seem like a serious probability. But it still was a probability. So several days before the war began, I have prepared a bag with the essentials, with the things I would need to have with myself when evacuating, and I told my parents to have their things ready too. They just laughed, but I could see they were considering this possibility as well. So it was not completely sudden, but still it was sudden, of course. Even the day before, I didn't believe they would do it.
So where where do you get your news locally? I mean, we're seeing news from obviously all the US places and then the BBC and a lot of other sources. I mean, when you're on the ground in the midst of all this, where do you turn for news?
I mostly get them from the Fifth channel. It is a Ukrainian channel that my parents have always watched and they trust it. And also, I get information from our city channel.
Okay, so obviously, developing games is not easy. Developing games remotely isn't easy. I mean, is it just you and your partner, or how many people are working on the game right now?
Yes, it is only me and my partner working on the Matrix Hunter right now. But before, I used to have a small team, a programmer and artist, and another writer working on another project, a dating sim. But now we had to pause this work because two of our team are in Russia, and me and one another member are in Ukraine, and she had to evacuate from Kiev to a safer city. And when I last talked to her, she said she was too depressed to keep working. I understand that all people take as in like this differently, and I have to give her time to process it, and I can't insist that she gets back to work right now.
So, I mean, I'm assuming you all are fully remote in the first place. So, what different tool sets are you using for communication in general? Is it, Slack, or what are you using to collaborate and work together on it?
So far, we only use Telegram. It is a messenger that is rather popular in Ukraine, and also we use Google Docs for sharing our documents. And we use Test Flight because the version we are now developing is for iOS.
I don't use Telegram, but I have heard for the last couple of months, everybody, especially at GDC as well, it's like, oh, what's your Telegram? I'm like, I don't even know what that is, but that is, I mean, it's hugely popular in Europe in general. So aside from the obvious, what other changes and what other pivots have you had to make in the course of the development of the game over the last couple of months, since you've got, team members that are, basically trying to stay safe at the moment?
My partner, with whom we are working on Matrix Hunt, is safe in Lithuania, so we continue working on this project and we have made some progress. We are now making the prototype and refining the concept. We already have the basic mechanic of 360-degree puzzles, but we don't have yet the location, the map. Now, when playing the prototype, you can use the smartphone camera and turn it around to collect the combos. And when you collect all of them, you have completed the level.
Oh, that's cool as hell. So, I mean, of course, like the big question is like, tell everybody why you stayed instead of evacuating or going anywhere else. I mean, it is. I mean, especially for us in the U.S., it's like I tried to explain to my son, when all this happened, and he's like, "Dad, what if the war comes here?" And I'm like, "Buddy, there's like a giant ocean between us and Europe. The probability is small. I mean, this is just not something that most of Americans can even fathom." Why did you decide to stay with your family versus, escaping and my brain is shot. You get what I'm saying. What? I haven't had enough coffee yet this morning. Why did you decide to stay?
First of all, I decided to stay because my parents told me they are not going anywhere. So if I left, I'd have to do it alone, and I wouldn't be certain if I would ever see them or not. And so I decided to stay with them and do my best to keep them and myself safe.
That's a very, very good answer. All right. So listen, everybody out there, if you've got questions for Ingrid about, situation or her game, because I really don't know of another game off the top of my head that is doing what she's doing with this thing, pop up in chat. We'll get them answered. So Ingrid, what is the biggest thing that you want everyone to know right now, in the game dev community, coming straight from the ground in Ukraine?
The main thing is that we Ukrainians have a feeling that we would win this war, win even against all the odds, and because the whole world stands with us, we are grateful for the help we are getting from the US and from other countries. Thank you guys, we see everything you are doing for us.
It seems like such a tiny thing that we can do over here. It's we donated the revenue from our show, a couple of weeks ago, but I mean, it just doesn't compare. And it's like, yes, we are absolutely 100%, with you all, but it's such a concept that I don't think a lot of people can even gather over here. Um, that yeah, I mean, we will continue to do what we can do. So walk us through what is the future plan for Matrix Hunt? Is this something that you want to go out and self-publish? Are you all going to be looking for, funding support or publisher support? As the game gets closer to launch time, what's your plan for releasing the game?
We are going to look for investments to complete this game because the server logic will be the most difficult part of it, and we'll need to hire more people to do it. We'll need more money, which we don't have. If we take the bootstrapping route, we will probably never complete it. So we are going to look for investments, for fundraising. Recently, I've even enrolled into a Ukrainian teachers event, but only a limited number of startups were selected there to pitch, and I wasn't one of them. But once the prototype is ready, I'm going to contact more investors and funds to reach out to them, and probably some of them will take interest.
All right. Well, I mean, you've got an audience right here, and this interview is going to be on our YouTube page and podcast for a long time. So let's just boil this down right now, Ingrid. How much investment do you need to get the game to a launch status?
We'll need $700,000. That's probably all the money we will need to take it from where we now are and to the soft launch in the US.
So how long? See this now. Now we're into the part of my job that I do all the time. So you need 700K. Once you get the funding, how long will it take you to get to soft launch?
8 months.
Okay. All right. I'm taking notes. And are you planning to do just mobile? I mean, just iOS and Android? I guess you are, since that's a stupid question. Never mind. It's again, not enough coffee this morning. 8 months. All right. I'm going to keep my eyes open for you as well. So what would you say makes this game, I mean, aside from the fact that it's AR plus crypto, what would you say makes this game really stand out? And why did you opt to go with crypto right now, given how controversial it is in the industry?
The most special feature of our game is that a player will be able to win a really big cash prize. I think it is honest that people will be able to get something from the game instead of just spending money there. The process will look like all players are making bets, whatever they like, even a small amount. Then all this money is brought together to form a bank. The bank's location appears on the map, and then players will have to physically reach it to take the prize. Who comes first will take all the money.
So, go ahead.
I haven't answered about crypto, but it's because it is less heavily regulated than the fiat currency, so it would be easier for us to accept bets in crypto, and it would be easier for players to take their prize in crypto.
So one of the problems that has plagued AR games, especially location-based AR games, is players that are in big cities tend to have an advantage over players that are in more rural or countryside areas. How are you approaching those two environments? I mean, will both types of players have relatively even experiences to go and collect and then turn stuff in?
We'll have a single player mode um, which can be enjoyed by players regardless of their location. When completing levels in the single mode, they will be developing their NFT pets. The pet will be growing stronger depending on how many steps a person has walked per day and how many levels they have completed. And the more advanced the NFT pet is, the more money the person can make by selling it.
This is so. What drove you to the crypto side? Because I mean, obviously, our industry is extremely divided on that whole space. I mean, industries like music, you know, music listeners have embraced it. They love it. They think it's great. On the video game side, you're seeing companies announce crypto projects and NFT projects and immediately getting completely thrashed on Twitter and anywhere else. Where What was the decision like when you said, okay, let's go the crypto route instead of doing normal hard currency and soft currency?
I know about this controversy, but crypto has always felt as something fascinating to me. I was fascinated by all the opportunities it provides by the independence from the banks and the governments. And I know that many people who have invested in Bitcoin a decade ago have already become wealthy from it. And I think there might be some opportunity just as lucrative in the crypto field. So I decided to give it a try.
See, and that's what I love. I've been very surprised, and I know I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but I'm not one of those people that immediately thinks everything that has to deal with an NFT and a crypto is a scam. You know, I totally acknowledge there are a lot of scams going on around it right now, but I've said from the beginning, it takes indie developers, like yourself, doing something. And I love that reason. It sounded interesting, so let's go do it. I mean, that's as good a reason as any to have build something like this. And it's going to take indie teams, who are willing to take that chance to show that this is either going to work or it's not going to work. And I'm one of those people that when Bitcoin first came out, I was working with another guy, and he was like all into it. And I'm like, whatever, this makes no sense. This is money that doesn't exist and it's not held anywhere and it's hard to get a value on it. I don't really want to do anything with it. And now I'm like, oh my God, if I had invested in Bitcoin like way back then, one, I probably would have sold it a long time ago because I thought it had peaked. But it's one of those things that has really stuck around. And there's a lot of companies that are, really investing a lot of money into this. So it's like when that demo and that prototype is ready, I don't think you're going to find it all that difficult to get your funding if the game is actually fun, to go along, because that's what it is a lot of times. It has really surprised me how many developers have said, yes, we are interested in this. So I think it's, fantastic that you're experimenting basically and seeing how it goes. And I'm very much looking forward to it. Now, all right. So Dan had a question, is there anything to play like right now, or is it all still in early prototype stuff?
There is a prototype we have loaded into test flight, and we can technically open a playtest for everyone who wants it, but I can't make this decision alone. I have to ask my partner, and I'd offer everyone who would like to play this game to follow us on Twitter or to join our Discord channel, and then you will definitely be the first to know once it is available, and you'll be able to download and playtest it.
Dan, can you put Ingrid's Twitter up in chat so everybody can find that? And we'll get some stuff going on that side. So, and I had a question, and it just completely evaporated in my brain. We'll come back to it. So, oh yeah. All right. So, what cryptocurrency are you going to build your own cryptocurrency, or is this going to? What are you going to link to? What type of currency are you going to earn?
We've decided not to overcomplicate things, so we'll be using cryptocurrencies that already exists, the Ethereum.
So can you pick which one you want to use? If I want to go and, earn Ethereum or Dogecoin or Bitcoin or whatever may have you, do you get to pick what you're using, or is there going to be one that you're going to stick with?
We'll probably only have Ethereum, but I don't think it's a problem. It's one of the most popular currencies, and it's trusted by many people.
So I know there are always a lot of concerns about, the environment and the impact that crypto mining has on it. I'm not a crypto expert. I know what the various ones are. I own some Ethereum and I used to own some Doge, but that's about it. How are you tackling that part? Was the environmental impact part of the decision making, and how did you make that call?
As far as I know, the Ethereum network has already shifted from proof of work to proof of stake, which is a far more environmentally friendly method, while Bitcoin still hasn't done it, and it's the reason why it is being critiqued by many. So that's one of the reasons that we are using Ethereum instead of Bitcoin.
So, I mean, this has all been brought so fast. I mean, with the crypto jump, I mean, obviously Bitcoin's been around for a while, but the larger view of crypto is only mass market for like the last year or so. Was it one of those things when y'all looked at it and like you said, it's like, this looks interesting, let's give it a try? Did you have a backup plan, or was there another plan originally before you decided to go that route?
No, there was no other plan, because I only heard about this idea that my friend had in December last year, and it was when I said, let's do it, let's give it a try, and so it began.
That's awesome. This is what I love about indie devs. I mean, you're not going to see this. Nobody at a AAA publisher or a AAA developer is going to hear about an entirely new form of currency and in 4 months be developing a game based on it. I mean, you are 100% embodying the indie dev everything right now. All right. So any questions? I think Dan has wandered off somewhere. So what else do you want to dive into? It's like, I ain't gonna lie, a part of me like really wants to try to grasp what's going on right now in Ukraine, but I'm sure you get like all of that all the time, and there's plenty of game stuff to talk about. What particular influences in terms of games that are on the market led to the design change? I mean, is it one of those things where you were like, okay, let's take game A and mix it with game B and go with it? I mean, you obviously prototyped it and designed it in your head very quickly. Where did the design inspiration come from?
That's a tough question, actually, because when I gave it a thought. I couldn't remember any games similar to Matrix Hunt that I ever played and liked. The games I liked are rather different as the Assassin's Creed series, particularly the earliest games, mm, from the first one to the Black Flag. And sometimes I used to like the adventure games and the old school text games, but Matrix Hunt stands somewhat apart from all of them, so that was a sudden idea even for myself.
So, I mean, one, ET phone home, ET won't phone home. This is not a question, but I'd like to salute the courage. So humbling and inspiring. Stay strong. See, you're building fans here, Ingrid. Um, are you are you concerned that because there isn't anything out there like this right now, that's going to have a negative impact on your ability to find a publisher or investor?
No, I don't think so, because there were actually somewhat similar games like Pokemon Go, and they had huge success, so that may be an argument for investors to put some money in our project.
Well, and there's also like there's exercise games. There's one running app where there's a narrative story going on that there's zombies behind you and you have to get away from the zombies. And so there are a couple of things that I have seen that kind of take into account how far you're traveling, but the ability to generate crypto while you walk. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I haven't seen anything like that either. I mean, are you concerned that people may get in their cars or on a bike and generate more crypto than they're supposed to because they're moving faster and they're not walking? It's like how are you balancing that?
I don't think it will be possible because the game is made so that it reacts only to the steps walked by a person, and when they travel on a bike or in a car, there will be no steps to register, and so
So it's going to automatically know. It's like you're not walking. That's the you don't get to generate anything right now. Hey, Dan, we already covered it, man. You're late. You're late. So, I mean, are you going to be able to, like post launch, late game plans? Are you going to be able to spend the crypto that you generate on stuff in the games? Because I know from talking with several of the publishers who are doing crypto games, they always want to make sure that you can spend the money as well as earning it. Is there going to be anything that they can power ups or anything that they can buy with the currency, or is it more strictly on the generation side?
yes, there will be power-ups available, but I can't tell you anymore at this moment. We haven't thought much about it. It will be a later stage in development, and so far we are only focusing on the concept.
It's something that I can tell you now, keep in mind, because it's one of the questions that you're going to get. Do you think that, given everything that's going on, you're going to have trouble getting publishing or investment just simply due to, a fear of stability in the region?
I hmm, I haven't actually given it a thought. Maybe because hmm, my partner is actually staying in a safe country in Lithuania, and he will be able to complete the work nevertheless. So,
So, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
so I don't think it will be our main problem.
So have you got the country? The company registered in Lithuania right now, or is it still registered in Ukraine?
The company is registered in Lithuania, but we know that many publishers prefer the games that are registered in the US, so we will probably have to incorporate in another country at a later point.
And that's what we see, with a lot of the countries. Oh yeah, actually, good question from the Discord. So, aside from you and your family and your team, what is the development community like right now? Are there other developers near you? Are you able to get together and talk to any of them? And right now,
I am a member of several Facebook groups where we meet with other developers where we talk online, but I haven't met any of them physically. I don't even know if there are any other game developers in my city. This industry is not particularly strong here where I live, so most of the other developers I know, I've only got to know them on the web.
wait, sorry. So I had a ping come in there right in the middle of all that. How many teams do you know that have stayed versus teams that have left and evacuated right now?
I know at least one team that has stayed in Ukraine, and they even keep working and hosting game development events. They have hosted one event early in March, and there were many people attending, as of mainly online. And when I heard about it, I was greatly surprised that they kept hosting an event even at a time like this, while the whole team stayed in Ukraine. But then I found that admirable. I reached out to them and wished them best of luck.
What was the name? Which event was it? What was the name of the event?
It was GD.
Yes. Okay. That's what I thought you were talking about. It's like, I know them really well. And Alina was one of the people that we were worried about initially, but I know she got to a safe place. But yes, I know the folks at GD Bay very, very well. They've got a pitch event starting like in the next week or two. My brain is still trying to unwind from GDC, but I know that they've got something coming up, and we are big fans and supporters of them. All right. So next question, do they have game development degrees at university in Ukraine?
I don't exactly know if they have any degrees now, but when I studied at university, it was since 23 to 28 years. There were no computer game degree at universities, but maybe they have introduced them since.
So when you started programming, see, now we got questions coming in faster and faster. When you started programming, how did you go about learning? What resources did you use to learn how to program?
Actually, I have only learned to program on Twine at the courses that I have mentioned, and I didn't go into the study of programming further than that. I just found the programmers who were already experienced to work with me on the games together, while I had the marketing and the creative side, and they took care of the programming.
So you've used Twine then for all the narrative aspects of the game then?
Yes.
That's I didn't even know about Twine until we had one of our guests on at a conference, and I think it's an absolutely fantastic tool that does not get enough credit for what it does. But for folks who are not familiar with Twine, explain what that engine is, and more importantly, for people like me who are not programmers at all either, why it is so good to use when you don't necessarily know programming.
Yes, Twine is a great engine for those who don't know programming at all, because there is very little code, only several commands. You can write a text like you would write a book or a short story or a social media post, and then you just add a few passages of code around it, and you are done. You can launch the game and see it work.
And because we are seeing, I've been doing this for 25 years, but it's only been in the last 5 years or so that I have seen a big increase in the number of writers in the industry and narrative designers in the industry. And I think more students and people who aren't necessarily in games are starting to realize, okay, that's a real career path. And Twine is something that I just think is absolutely fantastic, because you can literally sit down with your kids and go through and create new games based in Twine, because it's super, super easy to use, and it's just fun. So if you're out there and you always wanted to make your own choose your own adventure game or something along those lines, Twine is what you can use, and you don't have to absolutely know everything about coding to get it done. All right. So what was the inspiration for the story?
Again, it's a tough question for me, because I often don't know where exactly has the inspiration for a particular story come from. I just get an idea and I start thinking about it and developing it, but I don't really know where it comes from.
That's a perfectly good place to have it come from, because I have like a little notebook of story ideas that I keep. But then again, I'm an English major, and that's what we were trained to do, is write stories. I just went into video games instead. All right. So are you playing anything right now, or is it all focused on, obviously, coping and staying calm, but creating your game? I mean, have you got a favorite game that you've been playing, or something that really pushed you to get into the industry in the first place?
The games that pushed me to get into the industry were probably the first ones that I played as a child. It was in the early 19th. My father already had a computer and he would let me play it. And there were some games like Alley Cat or Lord Runner. I enjoyed them a lot. And I still remember them. They were funny and nice in their own way, in the old school way, and probably my heart has always remained with those old games, and I'm bringing a bit of them into everything I do.
That is fantastic. And there's a reason why we've got so many companies around to this day that are trying to keep all of these old games that we grew up on alive in some way, shape, or form, because games are the only interactive medium that it's hard to archive them. It's like you can't go back, and you can go back and play an old record from the 70s or something, or even movies have been digitized, but it's just not the same for games. And so I think the more that we can take these influences and use them to create new games, the better. So we got about 5-10 more minutes. If you've got questions, and like I said, now they're starting to roll in, pop them up in chat. We'll get them, or send them to Dan on Discord, and we'll get them there as well. So travel wise for you right now, is it restricted, or are you able to travel to any other, at least probably Western parts of the country?
Yes, from where I am, I can travel to the western part of the country and I can even go abroad, but I'd rather not. I'd better save the funds I have for marketing my game.
Ingrid, I think I have heard a whole lot of reasons to save money and to not spend money, but this is the first time that anyone has told me that they're trying to save money for marketing because they're in the middle of a war. And that's not something that's entirely normal in this industry. But I do so applaud you for thinking about the marketing of the game this early on, because not only is that like, it makes my heart glow because we always tell developers you have to think about this, but marketing for, especially for a mobile game is completely different. All right, so Dan tricked me that I was already thinking about that question and he threw it up there on the screen and he's making it look like his question. So what is your plan for marketing the game and what are you doing right now to build a community around it? Is it just on the Facebook group or are there other things that you've got going on uh, to build that community and to start marketing the game?
To market the game, I'm going to use a mix of community building, influencer advertising, and of direct advertising. The first steps I'm taking is creating the game accounts on Twitter and Facebook and our Discord channel. I'm starting to develop them to fill them with content. There's not much content up to date because I've just begun this work, but there will be more. We will be writing about the game updates, about anything funny and curious we will have to share. So
Well,
if someone joins right now, I hope they won't be disappointed.
well, let's see what we can do to, help boost the visibility of this game and get more community around it. I'm pretty sure we can put some things out on the indie game business side to get you a little bit noticed. Are you doing anything? I mean, around crowdfunding or have you looked at Patreon or anything else like that to actually monetize, the community that you have right now?
No, so far our primary focus is on finding investments, but we've also considered crowdfunding and we are now keeping it as our plan B.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, that's one thing that we've learned over the last few years is that you've got to have that big community to start off with before you can even really start raising fund from it. All right, so we've got the links. Dan, I know we've got Ingrid's Twitter up here, but no, actually, do we? I don't think we do. Can you put the social stuff for the game, the Facebook group? You said you had a Discord server as well, Ingrid?
Yes, we have a Discord server. I think I shared the link, but if you don't have it, I can send it again.
Oh, I'm sure Dan has it somewhere. The fact that I don't have it is irrelevant. I'm doing good to, be even here and conscious and awake right now. So we'll get that posted. And then, folks, if you want to join and you want to support Ingrid and her team and what they're doing right now, we highly encourage you check it out. You can keep track and when the next play test is going to be and all of that good stuff. We don't want to keep you. We're here at the end of our hour, Ingrid. Any parting thoughts? Anything you want to say, you want to plug right now? Here is your chance.
I want to thank you for this opportunity, for having me here, for letting me speak about our game. I'm glad that many people will know about it, and that's probably all I wanted to say.
Well, it is literally the least we can do, and our hearts and our support are with all of you right now. I mean, we can't fathom what you all are going through. And if you need anything, we got a Discord community over here on IGB of 4,000 different people, from developers to marketing to publishers. It is at your disposal. And we'll put stuff in the newsletter that's going out as well to help get some visibility for it. And otherwise, thank you for being here. Thank you for being so strong and doing what you're doing. And please stay safe. And that's what we got. Dan, you there? You're muted, Dan. Ha ha.
Of course, I wasn't muted. That wasn't me. Yeah. Thank you, Ingrid, for being here. Everybody, you can join our Discord, discord.gg/indiegamebusiness. We have our next show is scheduled for the 15th. I don't know if we have one next week. I do know we have got one for the 15th for sure.
We're working on that.
We're working on that.
Yes.
And for the people that watch the Indie Game Business March conference, those presentations are going out. So we're waiting for one more presentation. So we can send them all to you.
Who is it? Who are we calling out, Dan? Is it Chris? Tell me it's Chris.
It's Chris. It's
Chris. I knew it was Chris. Okay, Zukowski, I know you were at GDC last week, and I missed, I wasn't able to catch up with you, but we need your deck, okay? And I can also say the next IGB conference is going to be, I was informed of this over beers in San Francisco. The next conference is June 28th and 29th. And Ingrid, we're going to get you a free pass so you can show the game to publishers and investors, and it's all virtual. And yes, we will absolutely help where we can.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I will definitely attend.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right,
everybody, have a blessed day. Enjoy.
Thanks, everybody.